You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey there, Days of Our Lives fans. Guess what? I have got a whole pile of leaks from my inside source, and they have told me a bunch of juicy stuff like about Beau and Hope Brady's first episode date, why Phillip Kiriakis is brutally beaten very soon, and a bunch more good stuff. It's Belinda from Soap Dirt. If you're not following, please click subscribe. So this is all huge stuff from upcoming summer episodes, including scoop on breakups, miracles, and a little bit of courtroom drama. And there's a lot to unpack. In fact, we got so many leaks, I had to divide it into 2 videos. So check back on Thursday for part 2 of these Days of Our Lives leaks. All right. For those of you new to the channel, I need to explain just real quick about my leaker. This person has been a very reliable source. I won't say they're 100% accurate, but I would say 80 to 90% accurate, which is good enough for me to keep sharing their info. So just to be clear, these are not official spoilers. These are leaks from somebody with their finger on the pulse that gets the goods and sends it to me. But I just want to make clear, these are not written in stone, no guarantees. Let's get into it. Number 1. So my source says there is definitely more heartache ahead for Xander Kiriakis. He still doesn't know his wife Sarah has been aware for quite a while about sneaky Phillip's forged letter he said was from Victor, but now Sarah feels there's no point in telling him, but it's all about to change. Our source spilled that Dandy Zandy is going to learn about Sarah's betrayal at the end of May or very early June. So not quite yet. This week, Xander runs off with Sarah to the emergency room with an allergic reaction to some food, and that sidelines their big honeymoon plans. But it doesn't look like she blabs or Xander overhears it just quite yet. According to our reliable leaker, we have a couple of more weeks, possibly into early June, before Sarah is completely outed and Xander loses it and his and Sarah's marriage implodes. So you got to hope that Xander hears it from Sarah's mouth with her confessing it to him, but that seems increasingly unlikely. My money is on Xander overhearing something because he's a big eavesdropper in addition to being a big guy all around. All right, speaking of the hospital, our number 2 leak is that Phillip Kiriakis gets beaten up pretty badly. Looks like he may need some help in the ER. And this supposedly goes down sometime this month in May during sweeps. Now, it could be related to Xander's pent-up anger getting the best of him and he snaps on Phillip. You know, Xander obviously is livid at his brother. However, maybe it has something to do with something entirely different and Phillip gets himself into some different trouble on days. We know Doug 3 has been in trouble and those goons may be looking for him again. Remember, they wanted that extra interest payment. So Phillip's beating may be, I don't know, some weird mistaken identity thing at the mansion, wrong place, wrong time. Or since Phillip has now met Doug 3, maybe he steps in to help the young man with these thugs and he gets his butt kicked for his troubles. Of course, we'll let you know when we see spoilers on the source of Phillip's beatdown and whether it's Xander or maybe somebody outside the Kiriakis family. All right, our third big leak is something big. The moment fans have been waiting for, the return of Beau and Hope Brady. My leaker says their first episode that they return will be Friday, May 23rd in honor of their 40th anniversary. That was their fancy London wedding. And our leaker says when we see them, Beau will still be bedridden with Hope at his bedside, and we're obviously going to get a miraculous recovery for Beau, but it looks like this kicks off, even if he doesn't wake up on their milestone anniversary commemorating their first wedding back in 1985. So it sounds like Steve and Sean succeed in stealing Dr. Russell's experimental drug. Either either that or Bo gets another sort of miracle. We're going to talk about that in our next leak. But if the theft of Versavix is exposed, we have to wonder if Sean is arrested and will miss his dad Bo waking up. Although Steve and Sean are doing the heist together, as I said, I could see Sean covering for Kayla and Steve because Sean feels so guilty that he shot his dad Bo and that this coma is all his fault. All that aside, we are super excited that Hope gets her miracle and Bo wakes up. And from there, Hope and Bo take fans on a wild adventure story, a little arc that's going to take us through summer. And if our leaker is correct, watch for May 23rd. That's when the magic begins for Bope. All right, leak number 4 also ties back to Bo, but with a twist. Our source says we're soon going to find out somebody else is trying hard to save Bo Brady's life. The leaker told us Julie Williams is sending up fervent prayers to heaven to her husband, Doug Williams, this month, begging her beloved to please save Bo's life. Of course, Julie knows how much Bo meant to Doug as his son-in-law, and admittedly, Bo and Doug didn't always see eye to eye. They both agreed that they wanted Hope to have the best in life. As Bo has lain in that coma for more than 2 years now, of course, Hope kept constant vigil at his bedside, only returning home to lay her daddy Doug to rest last winter. So fans may get a montage of old days footage of Doug and Bo take us on a little trip down memory lane as Julie prays for a miracle healing for her son-in-law, Bo. I would love to see some classic footage like that. That is not part of the leak. That's just me hoping. So will Julie and Hope feel like Doug pulled some heavenly strings to save Bo's life and restore his health? If Sean and Steve can't get the drug, maybe Doug can do it from the great beyond. Hope will obviously have to bring Bo up to speed on all the happenings in Salem that he missed out on these 2 years. All right. Now, our very last tidbit that's part of part 1 of the leaks is about EJ telling Belle he is going to buy the hospital. Of course, we know EJ claims to be a changed man now that he's out of his coma and recovering at home. But then when Kayla refused to let Dr. Russell out of his contract with University Hospital so he could take his Versavix research and leave, the doctor called EJ. Turns out Russell has been conspiring with EJ for a while to get this drug into DiMera hands. Kayla, of course, knows it's a cash cow and that University Hospital needs the money from the patent on this groundbreaking drug. And she's hoping once Dr. Russell gets FDA approval, it could save the hospital. But in the meantime, EJ is conspiring with Dr. Russell, and it's not entirely clear how shady his motives are. And to be fair, EJ started conspiring with the doctor before his whole shtick about my coma changed me. All right, that is part 1. Check back Thursday for part 2 with lots more juicy leaks from our insider that gets us the scoop from Days of Our Lives.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.